Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the second annual NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. My name is George Atala. I work with the NFL Players Association. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our annual Collegiate Bowl, like I said, and we're hosting our press conference today, joined by Coach Dick Vermeil, who won the game last year, and Coach Herm Edwards, along with three members of their teams. Just a quick background before I introduce each of them. And welcome to those of you joining us on YouTube. We're live streaming this as well. We decided as an organization to engage in this event to make sure that future NFL players had the comprehensive professional football experience. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean only the top-rated facilities from a football standpoint, top coaching staffs, which you can look at and review in the media guide in front of you, Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers, coaching them, but it also means providing them with a real experience of what their NFL careers are going to look like. It's going to be the first opportunity they get to not only hear about defensive schemes in the locker room, but also how to prepare themselves financially for life in the National Football League. It gives them an opportunity not only to understand how they can market themselves as individuals on the field, but what type of promotional activities and group licensing rights the NFLPA offers them off the field. Needless to say, we've put together a week-long experience for them that provides them with top-rated not only coaching staff and scouts and football facilities, but I know that they are in really good hands with our staff and with professionals in every level of the life that they're going to experience as an NFL player. I'm now going to turn it over to Coach Dick Vermeil, who needs very little introduction. This is his second year coaching this game. Of course, he's a Super Bowl winning head coach in the National Football League with the St. Louis Rams. And I'll invite him to make a few remarks, and then he'll turn it over to Coach Edwards, who will speak as well. One thing I didn't mention, and I'll do that now. Representing the American team today, quarterback Jordan Rodgers from Vanderbilt. Of course, he has the distinction of being Aaron's younger brother, but he has also established a career of his own in college and has put together one of the finest seasons of a Vanderbilt quarterback ever. Also, directly to my right is Brad Sorensen, quarterback from Southern Utah. He was recently a finalist for the Walter Payton Award for Most Outstanding Player in Division I football subdivision. Also, safety from Ohio State, Orhian Johnson. Had to have somebody from Ohio State here today. He's recorded 39 tackles and played all 12 games during their 2012 undefeated season. From the national team, quarterback Dayne Crist from Kansas is here with us today. He was one of the captains of the Kansas Jayhawks and has really shined at his position for the Kansas Jayhawks, and we're really welcoming him today. Running back from Miami, Mike James, started all 12 games, played some special teams and fullback during his senior campaign, a four-year letterman, and really a standout player at the U. Bruce Taylor from Virginia Tech, a linebacker from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He was honorable mention All-ACC and a coach's All-ACC selection. So not only will you get a chance to talk to the head coaches, but meet some of the players that are standing out this week. So, Coach Vermeil, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First off, it's a real pleasure for me to represent the national team, second opportunity, but even more exciting because Herman Edwards is involved in this. I first started getting after this guy when he was 17 years old. That shows you how old I am.
We're both old, Coach.
Yeah. But anyway, I was able to bring Herman Edwards into the National Football League in 1977, and he did an unbelievable job as an undrafted free agent and played for me. And I tell people this all the time. I've never had a corner that played a position that worked harder at improving his skills on a daily basis than Herman Edwards, and that's why he was a fine coach, and that's why he's doing an outstanding job right now as a broadcaster. But to being with these guys, I'd say the whole scheme of things this year is smoother. The National Football League Players Association it's just improved everything through the experience of putting their first game together last year and now this game. Everything's smoother. The athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger than last year's group for both sides, from what I understand. I was hoping it was only going to be on our side, but I couldn't get that arranged. But it's really been fun. Selfishly, why do I do this? So I can sit next to Herman Edwards. So I can bring a coaching staff together, coaches that coach for me, players that played for me. Hall of Fame guys, all pros, and just wonderful human beings that when you're out of coaching, that's what you miss the most. The relationships that you build when you're working with these people in intense environments and situations, both coaches and players. So selfishly, that's why I'm here. Second, I'm here to try to help kids. And I don't spend a lot of time talking to the players. I've turned that responsibility over to the Isaac Bruces, the Will Shields, the Eric Hickses, and the guys that have played the game a number of years, Priest Holmes. I think it's very important that they hear these guys talk, the Ray Crockett's, and hear their story and how they made it, and why they made it, and what they've done, and what to do after football, and how to handle success, how to handle letdowns, how to handle when your career's all over. Better expressed by a former player than an old coach. So, and be able to sit next to these guys, you know, you don't get to know them like you do when you're really coaching them double days in training camp and all that, and you've had them in mini camps, but it's really been a lot of fun. Really, it's amazing how much these kids can absorb in 4 days of practice. We put a mini camp offense in. Okay, the defense is extremely limited, but we took a mini camp routine. So when these kids go to a mini camp now, they will have been through an installation very similar to a mini camp. Again, educating them and getting prepared, just like the Players Association wants us to do. But thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I'll turn it over to Herman.
Thank you, Coach. And I echo what Coach Vermeil says in this sense. Obviously, being involved in the National Football League for over 30 years as a player and as a coach, and I go way back with Coach Vermeil. Our days on the recruiting road when he was trying to get me to go to UCLA, and I ended up going to Cal, and we ended up being together in Philadelphia for a long time. And a lot of my philosophy that I've gained as a coach as well as a player is through this man right here. And he was a player's coach, no doubt about it. I think when you think about the NFLPA game, this is my first year being associated with it. I'm glad they invited me for the opportunity. And it's really, this game is not about so much the former players, Coach Vermeil or myself. It's about these young players. This is the future of the National Football League. A lot of these players will be drafted, some of them won't be, doesn't matter. But I think what they have to realize, and I've talked to my team about it, and Dick has talked to his team, in life we're a collection of choices. And the choices you make not only on the field but off the field are very important. And I think the skills and the things, the information they're about to learn here this week will prepare them for that. Not only because former players are coaching them, but what the NFLPA has done off the field for them, providing them information so they have an opportunity to make a choice. And when you make the correct choices, you have a better chance of being successful. So this game is set up not so much about the game, but the information they have to have so they can have some success as a football player, not only on the field, but more importantly anymore off the field. And that's the issue we always deal with former players. You always hear sad stories about former players, and the first thing a lot of them say was, I didn't know. Well, these kids are going to know, and I think that's very important. And then from there, they can make a choice. There's consequences with choices, and I think we all understand that. The game is about highlighting the players and putting them in a position where they can have some success, feel good about themselves. I told them very simply was this, when it comes to pro football, not a hobby. Pro football is not a hobby. It's your occupation. Pro football players don't graduate. You have to take someone's job. It becomes a job. And, and when you choose to do this, you have to prepare. And it's not, Monday through Sunday. It's every day. You're a pro football player. That is your occupation. All right? And they have to understand that. It's a tough occupation. And if you're willing to sacrifice some things, it's like the old story. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. No one wants to make that sacrifice. Well, it takes sacrifice to be a professional football player, a professional coach. Everyone in life has the same amount of time every day. We always choose what we want to do with our time. If you want to make this truly a profession, and Coach said it, there's work. Hard work is never left. You got to work at this. It doesn't matter about your talent. God gives you your talent. Are you willing to work? If you're willing to work, you'll get an opportunity. You know, I told our team this. If you think that life is fair, life's not fair. Not supposed to be fair. It ain't never been fair. Life's about opportunity. And in the National Football League, if you're a good player, you'll get an opportunity. I was a free agent. This man right here gave me an opportunity. He gave me an opportunity, and I took advantage of it. I prepared myself. These young men will have enough information when they leave here this week. They've been coached by former players. You know, experience is great to have, but the problem with experience is this. You get the lesson first, and the experience comes after the lesson. Well, they're fortunate. They're going to get a lot of experience from professional football players that have played in this league, knowledge you can't buy. And they're being coached by these guys every day. If they use that to their advantage, they'll have an opportunity to have some success. So thanks again for the NFLPA for inviting me. I appreciate it. Good to see my old coach here again. And it'll be a fun game.
You're just buttering him up.
No, I ain't buttering him up. No, he's the best. This guy's the best. You can open it up, whatever you want.
Yeah, we'll take some questions from the audience. And again, I want to make sure that the players have an opportunity to share their thoughts too. So any questions, you can direct them at anybody up here, and hopefully the players will have a chance to talk to. Questions? Okay, I'm going to ask the first question. I want to ask Orhian, for you this week, how's it been being coached by your position coaches, guys that have been successful in the league? Tell me a little bit about what that's been like for you. I assume, give us an opportunity to hear from you who have been the coaches on your team, your position, and what type of lessons have you learned from them? Any mic you want.
I actually had the privilege to work with Darryl Green and Robert Griffith, definitely at the safety position and the cornerback position. And it's really been a blessing. You know, we have a guy with Darryl Green who actually got to go and play in the league for 20 years. And that knowledge that he has, I mean, is pretty much priceless. And, you know, with Coach Griff, he's been out there definitely helping me out of the safety position and giving me all that advice. And, I mean, they just been giving it to us from a player and a coaching standpoint and kind of helping us out and tweak everything for the most part that they can for the 4 days that we got. But it's been a great experience from the whole coaching staff and on both sides, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Doug?
For both coaches, this gives you an opportunity to kind of scratch that itch. Is it hard to walk away from it again and go back, or do you walk away from something like this going, oh, man?
Well, that's a good question. The question, if you didn't hear it, is that when you come and do something like this, as Herman and I are doing, is it hard to walk away from it because you've been coaching, you've been part of a game all your life? Herman has the advantage that he's talking about the game all the time, and he has to study it to prepare to present it on national television. I follow the game closely. I follow closely the players that I've coached that are still playing, like Tony Gonzalez at Atlanta and other kids. And I follow coaches that I have coached with and have worked for me that are on other teams. So I stay close to it, but nothing can substitute being on the field. Nothing can take the place of being next to these guys and these guys. And people ask me all the time, do you miss it? You're darn right I miss it. I don't miss the bad days, you know. I don't miss getting beat by Herman in New York and getting on a plane at midnight and flying back to Kansas City and getting off the airport, off the plane at 4 in the morning and going right to work. I don't miss that. But overall, I miss it a lot. You know, it's part of your life, and I think Herm feels the same way.
Yeah, to echo what Coach Vermeil is saying, obviously you miss the camaraderie with the coaches, planning. You miss the players, developing players, the communication. But I've been very fortunate. I've been in the league for 30 years. The last 3 or 4 years now I've been on ESPN. So I'm still a part of the game. I have to study it. I get to talk about it. I receive calls all the time. Coach, you want to come back? My answer is real simple. Got the wrong number. I have the best job in America. Never lost a game anymore. I'm a smarter coach, too. So, you know, I'm involved in this game. I coached the Under Armour All-American game for the last 2 years. That's a unique experience, too, dealing with young people. So I still have a platform. But for me, I have 2 young girls, 6 and 7 years old. I've coached a lot of players, and you think players are tough? I got 2 daughters. They're really tough. I'm just trying to figure that out, the dynamics of that.
Follow-up question. It seems that quarterbacks are coming out of college more advanced, more in tune with what the NFL requires. Is that something you're noticing?
The question about the caliber and the quality of quarterbacks coming out of college today. First off, if you watch the college game critically, you'll find out the college coaches are doing an unbelievable job of coaching football, and especially on the offensive side. And it's unusual if you see an old base offense anymore. When we were coming here, we were worried if the quarterback ever took a snap under center. Okay, because all these variations of shotgun and rifle and pistol and all these other things, the quarterbacks are throwing the ball more game day, meaning they throw the ball more in the off season, in training camps, and in practice. So therefore, they show up to an NFL training camp better prepared. The other thing you've noticed now, in the old days, if you had a quarterback that could run, he couldn't throw real well. Or if you had one that could really throw, he couldn't run very well. Well, today, the number of the kids coming out can do both extremely well. And I mean, I wouldn't want to be a defensive coordinator anymore. You know, they're going to be fired at a very rapid pace, okay, because of the skill.
Dick makes a good point, and I'll echo this. It's kind of funny. Young quarterbacks, they run. Haven't seen too many old quarterbacks run. And they learn to stop running eventually, because if they want to truly have a career, they have to play within the framework of the pocket, because this league is about punishing the quarterback. And when you expose him, a couple things happen. Coach didn't know this. There's a red phone behind the desk when you play games. There's a red phone behind everyone's bench. That belongs to the owner. And you keep running that quarterback on that option, and he keeps getting hit, because the defense is going to study this option. Trust me, they're going to study it. They're going to go hit the quarterback. The red phone will ring. The owner says, you know, that guy makes $15 million. He happens to be our franchise quarterback. Can we please stop running that play? So we all like it right now. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's like the hunter. You know, it's fun when you're shooting a rabbit. It's no fun when a rabbit gets the gun. And the problem is with the quarterback, you know, you only dress two. You only dress two. All right? And when the first one goes down, you're holding your breath when the second one comes in there now, because that's how it works in this league. And so I just think it's evolving. Dick is right. I think these young quarterbacks now, from Pop Warner to high school, they're put in a position where they're in front of people. They throw the ball a lot. The crowd doesn't bother them. The level of competition doesn't bother them. I think coaches in the National Football League have understood that all of a sudden it's not so much about my system anymore. It's about how can I fit this quarterback in my system, and how can I develop my system around the player. And I think more coaches are doing that. It's a quarterback-driven league. They have an advantage. They play in the pocket. Rules say now you only can hit guys down the field a certain yardage. You can't hardly tackle guys anymore. You can't hit the quarterback. It's not that the quarterbacks aren't tough, but we're trying to protect the product because people want to see points. You know, you throw in the league to score and you run to win. And no fan wants defense until you're winning the game in the last 2 minutes. Then all the fans stand up and say, defense, defense. But for the first 58 minutes, you want to see points. It's that last 2 minutes when you want your defense to play. We get all that. But I just think that's what this thing has evolved to. Think about last week in the playoffs. First time historically that if you didn't score 30 points, you couldn't win a playoff game. Think about that. And I've been in football a long time. Coach Vermeil's been there too. I mean, if you didn't score 30, you weren't winning last week. And it didn't matter the weather conditions. It didn't matter if you're in the dome. It didn't matter if it was a young quarterback, a veteran quarterback. But this is what the league is evolving in. It's basketball on a grass field. They spread you out anymore. They get the matchups they want. They throw the ball outside, and they wait to see if you can tackle him. And if you can't tackle a guy, it's not a 5-yard play anymore. It's a 20-yard play. And when you have an athletic quarterback, if you don't spy the guy, you got problems. He's going to take off and run. That's what the league's about. So we're dealing with that.
Well, let me ask Dayne from the national team to echo that a little bit on the quarterback issue. What have you picked up during your time at Kansas to help prepare you for eventually the biggest job interview you're going to have here in a couple of weeks? And what things have you picked up from the coaching staff this week about how to run a pro offense?
Well, I think I've been very fortunate in the quarterback tutelage that I've had in my career thus far. Being coached by Coach Weiss at Kansas, I try to be a sponge and soak up everything that he had to offer and say. And just this week, I mean, working with Coach Vermeil and Coach Terry Shea, I consider myself to be very fortunate to just get whatever insight they can give, from a schematic standpoint to fundamentals to off the field preparation. I just said it once, but I've truly tried to be a sponge and just soak up any and all experience and wisdom that these guys have. And I love playing the position of quarterback. I hope to keep playing for as long as I can, but I understand that it ends for everybody. and I just want to continue to compete and keep playing for as long as possible.
And you got a question. Go ahead.
So for Brad, coming from a smaller school being a bigger fish in a smaller pond, why choose to participate in this game, and what are you personally looking to get out of it?
Just what everybody else has said. I mean, to be around professionals, coaches, and players, to learn all I can from them. This is a great experience for me to play with these players, the great athletes we're going against on defense, and it's just been a fun experience so far.
Is there anything in particular that you want to sort of walk away from this with? Obviously, opportunities are number one, but is there anything you're trying to throw upon as a football player?
Sure. I mean, I came here to try and get better at everything, from the quarterback standpoint, as far as fundamentals and just the knowledge of the game. And I feel like I've been able to take away a lot from the practices we had, and just to continue to grow as a quarterback.
Let me help you with this. So we have to understand this, ladies and gentlemen. These young people come from different programs. First of all, offensively, terminology different. Defensive, terminology different. Fundamentals and techniques. And that's where the rub lies for these guys, because they've been coached for 4 years, hopefully by one coach in one program. And then they leave that program and they have to go to the National Football League. And what they're feeling this week is the volume of things they got to learn. They're smart, they're athletic, but as we know, the more volume and the more information you have to process, you can't play fast. You got to be able to think, especially at the quarterback position. It's about processing information and knowing where to go with the football, making a quick decision. You drop back, by your second step, third step, the ball's gone. You know exactly what you're looking at. Well, the problem they're going to run into, whether it's offense or defense, at the next level, there's so much information. You go from being a 22-year-old playing against a 30-year-old man with experience. Well, you can't get that the first day in training camp. We're giving them a little bit of what's about to happen to them so they won't be shocked. I came out of college and thought I knew how to play football, and then I go to this man's camp, and for like 2 months, I was like, whoa, this is really hard. This is really hard. And it was only 14 preseason games then. 14 regular season games. There was 6 preseason games. We were in camp for 2 months with this man. Now, 125 players. 125 players. Coach ran 10 of them off the first day, just in the conditioning. He ran them off. And rightly so, because it wasn't a hobby anymore. It was a profession. But you understood this. When you made Dick Vermeil's football team, you were worthy. You were worthy. You went through the test. He made sure you were mentally tough, physically tough, because in football, you have to earn the coach's trust. That's what it's about. Can the coach trust you? And if you play quarterback, that whole organization is trusting you. Every decision you make as a quarterback, whether it's in college, but more so in the National Football League, a lot of people are relying on you to do the right thing with the ball because you play with the ball. No matter what anybody says, the quarterback dictates the terms. He plays with the football. And how you play basically sets the tone of how the game will be played out. That's important. So these guys got a lot of pressure on them, quarterback. It's just, that's part of it. And it's hard. And that's why these young quarterbacks that are coming in, you marvel at them because you go, wow, these guys are really special players.
Let me ask on the defensive side of the ball, Bruce, you went up against some great offensive teams in the ACC. Can you talk a little bit about being on the other side of the ball and trying to defend some of the new offenses and how you deal with that as a linebacker, and what defensive capabilities have you learned this week to try and prepare yourself for being a linebacker in the NFL?
Just kind of saying what Coach Herm was saying earlier. The league's evolving. You got to hit guys a certain way. They want to protect the offensive guys. So as a defensive player, kind of makes it harder, to go out there every week and game plan against people because your game plan has to adjust to the changing game. But at the same time, with the changing game, it still makes it fun because you have to develop new schemes and new way to defend people. And this just going into this week, I've played in a few different All-Star games, been blessed to be able to do that. And just going in and trying to learn the different schemes that the coaches are teaching you. Because when you come from a college 9 times out of 10, it's going to be different scheme, different techniques that the coach is going to teach you. And it's going from doing something for 5 years, learning a specific technique, a specific, scheme for 5 years to going and learning something different. And you only got 4 days to put it in. So, as a defensive player, you want to just be able to be coachable and be able to adjust to the changing game and to the new schemes and soak it in as fast as possible. And I think that's where that's where you find the good players, those guys that can adjust and are coachable.
Go ahead.
In keeping with this concept of the transformation of the game, development of the quarterback, we've also kind of seen a fading of the fullback position, as we've seen here even with the representation of players. I'm curious what you two coaches think is the reason for that, and whether or not we'll ever see a resurgence in the position.
Well, first off, the fullback position has disappeared in college, really. So if it disappears in college, it's hard to find one in the National Football League. On my Super Bowl team, our fullback was a linebacker in college, had never played fullback. And he became a starter in 1 year and did a wonderful job. One of our linebackers that's on our squad has already told me that pro scouts have talked to him about adjusting and become not a linebacker in college, a fullback in pro football, looking for that specific 6'2", 255, 260 guy that's been hitting people from the other side, now turn around and become an offensive player. But it is hard to find that guy. It really is. And in it being hard to find that guy, it also dictates what kind of offense you run. If you don't have one, if you can't find one, then you're not building a scheme that really incorporates the use of that second back, that big fullback in the backfield. You're doing a variety of things. Now, Michael right here, we're going to play him at both positions because we only had one fullback coming here. Michael's already out at Penn State. I mean, coming out of college to come to the All-Star game. And he's smart enough to handle both positions and can do it and do it well. But I think Herman recognized the same thing.
Yeah, you make a good point, and you're right. I mean, the fullback offense is really used to be traditional when I was in the league. Now, not so much, obviously. And it comes to this, too, roster spots. You only can dress 46 players in the National Football League. So how do you justify a guy that basically is going to play maybe not even a third of your offense? He's going to play some special teams, but now you've got to sit a skill player down because of a fullback. So I just think it's a unique position. You always seem to need one when you're down inside the 5-yard line, right? But you don't have the guy. But it's a spread open offense anymore. I mean, everything's spread open. Who's your back? You look at Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson would prefer to be a one-back set, but Minnesota did a great job with a fullback. Their fullback made the Pro Bowl, right? So Adrian learned how to run with a fullback. But you look at San Francisco. San Francisco's a little bit traditional. Why? Because the coach. Coach came from Michigan. He's, I always think about him as we look at San Francisco, and I always say he's a run coach. As dynamic as that offense is, he's a run coach. He's going to create formations, and he's going to do it with personnel groups, and he's going to run the ball. He's going to run the power. He's running the power. You're getting the power. You're going to get from different formations, different personnel groups, and so that's what's unique about San Francisco. And now they got a quarterback that runs it. So they're a run team. But people say, well, San Francisco's a run team. Now, they score points, but they dictate the terms because they run the football. They're a power-running team. But here again, now you look at other teams, they don't have a fullback. It's just you got to ask yourself this question. If you have Tom Brady, do you want a fullback? Nope. You don't want a fullback. Why? What are you using for? I mean, Tom Brady, you going to take 5 snaps away from Tom Brady? No. Why would you do that? So that has a lot to do with it, too, I think. Who's the quarterback? You look at the teams, how teams are built. They're built a couple ways. If you have an elite quarterback, you're probably not going to have an elite runner because you can't play both. You can't pay both positions. You just can't do it anymore. The salaries will dictate that. If you got an elite quarterback, you better have a left tackle because you're going to spread people out. You don't pay the $20 million quarterback to do this, turn around and get the ball to the runner. You don't pay him for that. You pay him to throw the ball down the field. So the more weapons he can have, the better. Now, there'll be situations where you need a guy, but like Coach said, if you have a linebacker that's a pretty athletic guy, you can always flip him over there for 5 plays at fullback. You can do that. So that's what the league is evolving to, in my opinion.
Question?
Yeah, question for Jordan. Kind of a two-part question. How valuable is this for you to get a chance to meet and talk with some of the scouts here, and sort of your mindset going into the game tomorrow, what you hope to show those scouts that
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, when I got invited, the first thought I had was, I get to go compete. And anytime you get a chance to compete with some of the best guys, best players in college football, in front of scouts, you can't ask for a better environment to showcase your skills and really to get coaching from guys that have been in the league for 30+ years. So I really wanted to get out of this game, a chance to compete, show scouts I want to compete, and then pick up some of the verbiage and some of the ins and outs of the offenses, how the NFL teaches it, how they what language they're speaking, how they're calling their protections, how they're calling their concepts, stuff like that to kind of get your foot in the door and give you a head start, into the possibility of getting into a training camp.
Now that actually sitting down and talking with some of the scouts, what's kind of that interview process like when you're trying to convey that?
Yeah, I mean, it's monotonous. You're getting a lot of the same questions over and over again, but you get really good at answering them.
I got one. How does it feel to be an Aaron Rodgers brother?
Yeah. Never answered that actually before, but we play to win the game. So what I'm going to do is win.
That's a great one, but don't forget the jingle. Hello. Hello comes first.
Now you really want to sit down with those scouts and really just kind of be yourself. You want them to get a grasp of who you are off the field, what your background is. You want to be completely honest because they know the things that maybe you're trying to skip around or you might want to leave out. They know those things, so you want to be completely honest. You want to be yourself. Give them a sense of who you are, your character, your background, because they know the football stuff. They're going to watch the film. They want to get to know who you are off the field, the kind of guy you're going to be in the locker room. So just striving to be yourself, be honest with every question.
Time for one more question, then I'll close.
What has been you guys' journey through all this, kind of like the process of how you wake up, you train, you eat, sleep, just after your last game of college, what was your journey?
Let's let Mike take that one first, because the question was, how's your journey been like after college, and what type of process are you going through?
I mean, it's definitely been a new journey. I mean, something that's very different. I mean, when you graduate college, like I did in December, I mean, it's a big step. Now you got to start your life as a man. You got to manage yourself and be the CEO of your own company and really understand what's the next step. So, I mean, the next step for me was, just getting my close circle together, which was my family, and really understanding what I needed to do next and what I really wanted to do next, or play football or go get a job. And, of course, I picked to play football. So, that required me to get an agent, to really find out the ins and outs of the business, to get around, to get into a game like this and get around great coaches like Herm and Vermeil and really get the understanding of what's going to happen next. And from then on, I started working out at Bomberino Performances in Aventura, Florida, and starting to get ready for the combine and, that process. And, even with meeting with scouts and really getting ready for, like everyone's saying, the biggest interview of your life is some pressure on you because you really got to, make sure, throughout the things you did in life, you got to really look back on them and be like, hey, I'm going to make sure I did all the right things to get where I'm at. So, I mean, it's definitely been a new challenge. It's been good and it's been fun, but the process has been, what it is. You get an agent, go to the combine, go to all-star games and try to get a job.
Well, I want to close by saying two things. First of all, thanks to the coaches and players for joining us today. We've had a tremendous week, and I hope everybody will tune in if you're not going to be here in person tomorrow for the second NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, which will be broadcast live on ESPN2. Thanks to ESPN for their partnership with us. It's been a tremendous week. We do this event, again, to make sure that we not only find future NFL stars, but we identify future leaders as men, as businessmen in the business of football. And I want to bring to your attention one example of that. I think he's still in the room. Is Richard Crawford here? Richard Crawford, the Washington Redskins, was part of this game last year, made the opening day roster, and was part of their impressive playoff run this year. He had a really important special teams return, if you remember, in their comeback against the Ravens. And I just want to thank him for being here because he's the type of example not only of what this game is about for players on the field, but what type of leaders in preparation we want to have as people off the field. So I wanted to make sure I recognized Richard, who's here with us today, and I wish the players the best of luck and coaching staffs the best of luck tomorrow. Be safe, good luck, and thanks for joining us. Thank you very much, everybody.